Welcome to the podcast where we speak truth, illuminate power, and fully embody who the fuck we are. This is the Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. We are all about spiritual evolution, spiritual growth, talking about the things that may be controversial, even some triggering concepts, but we are all about expansion. Come on in and join us as we reclaim and recenter ourselves in the power of who we really are. We are the Light Warriors, and welcome to the revolution.
Welcome back, everybody, to episode 127 of the Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. And this was a super fun episode to record. Dee is what do we want to call her? A bundle of fiery energy, and you can feel it. And the work she's doing in the world really, really aligns with who she is as a person, the messaging coming through her. We dive into sound frequency today. We talk about our voice, vocal cords, and how this expression moving through our voice is actually the alignment, the power, and where we're actually being led into. And a lot of you guys have heard me speak into owning your power and stepping up into your voice and all this dimension. And we dive into this today together in the space of her being an opera singer and how this is showing up in the collective and how we're being called to really allow this to be set free, to allow that voice to come through into the world, to allow our throats to open and expand. And it was really cool. We dive into some vulnerable shares of course, in Colleen world about where I don't actually own my power in my life through my voice and where I am consistently watching that transpire and holding space that maybe one day I will get it in alignment, and all the things. But let me just tell you a little bit about Dee first before we jump into this episode so that you can get a feel for what's about to transpire. So she is known more commonly by her stage name, Deborah Rogers. Miss D has threaded the boards on stages all over the world as an opera singer and crossover artist for over 20 years. After a stellar career performing on global stages, recording albums, and teaching and mentoring singers and speakers at all levels and abilities, she now channels her artistry, expertise, and soul gifts into empowering women to discover their true vocal power and embody their most authentic, impactful expression. Through her unique approach, blending vocal mastery, energetic frequency, archetypal, I'm like, wow, I can't even say that word, and intuitive awareness, Dee helps women release their holy roar and step into their highest calling and deepest expression. So as you can tell, like, we're just setting the stage and the tone up for what this conversation is about to bring forth. So I am excited to deliver this episode to you. It brought forth some learnings in my space as well, which is always beautiful and amazing. And we are all being called into our inner roar. And it doesn't mean that you're the trailblazer or the bold. It just means that you've got to now own your roar inside of you. So grateful for this episode. It's episode 127 of the Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. All right, guys, I am definitely already feeling the fire of what this conversation is about to move through. And Dee and I are about to hash out some pretty cool stuff. So for all of you out there that maybe need a little bit of an infusion in your power, an infusion in reminding you who the fuck you are, and to step up into this space, I feel like this podcast is already setting the tone for that. Dee, would you agree? Welcome.
Amen. Yes.
Great. I told her, and so the title came in channeled before. It doesn't always happen that way. And when I told her the title of the podcast was going to be labeled, she's like, yes, let's do this. So let's actually talk about that. Let's talk about what are you seeing moving through the collective right now? I know you do a lot of work in self-expression, opening up our availability to speak truth and all the power aspects of this, but what are you seeing moving through right now? And I think that's just going to propel us into all the amazingness we're about to lead into the podcast episode today. So go ahead.
Amen. Okay. All right. So it's not so much what I see, it's what I hear.
Yeah.
And what I hear in the collective is that there is so many women now being pulled into the call to really step up and speak out, except they are still running the old vibrancy frequencies of what they have been running.
Yeah.
And this new era, because I talk about the new era, because it really is a new era, and it is calling the women to stand up in a way that we've never stood up before, and to speak in a way that we've never spoken before, and to say the things we've never said before, and to really step into a vocal frequency and energy that has never been seen before. it has been seen before, but in the collective, it really hasn't been seen before. And the big thing for me is that this requires a voice, an ability to speak, to communicate, to express in a way that most people on the planet have never been trained to allow to be.
Yeah.
And that is something that, from a collective point of view, we're literally been catapulted into this new energy, but this hasn't caught up. The voice hasn't caught up. The throat hasn't caught up, because it's still running old energetic frequencies, old limitations, old energetic alignments that haven't been released properly.
Yeah. Yep.
And the voice itself is really the culmination of the entire essence of self. It's like the cherry on top of your entire existence.
Right.
It is like, when you speak, it is not your whole existence. It is the culmination of every ounce, every frequency, every energy, every alignment, misalignment, truth, non-truth that you keep putting out. And we hear it from here. So that is the last port of call. So it all gets channeled through. It all, really like the birth canal, it all channels through, comes through like this into the world as a heard frequency, as an additional frequency that's then placed out into the ether, for the universe, for the collective.
Yeah.
However, if that voice is still running those old programs, or is still locked into old programs, hasn't been released, hasn't been trained to be able to hold the new frequencies that you may have created for yourself.
Yep.
If it's not doing that, then you are literally, it's like speaking another language.
Right.
You are speaking another language that the rest of your body is not computing anymore. So it's a whole realignment that needs to be taking place, and a whole release of this space to increase resonance, because the resonance that we're being asked to produce is much bigger, much more vibrant, much more stretch, much more height, much more depth, much more direction than we've ever been asked before, in a way that you don't need to yell. It's not about volume. It's not about pushing. It's not about striving. In the same way that everyone's having this resurgence about, the feminine business model, it's not about that. It's never been about that. It's being able to sit your voice in an anchored place that it can just function already, like it already knows how to, but to function and resonate in a way that creates optimum and optimal vibrancy for you, because everyone's voice is completely unique. We are 100% biology. We are 100% energy and frequency. And they all are a fine-tuned balance for you as you.
Yeah.
But what we hear in the collective, and you hear it a lot on socials, God bless socials, but you hear it on socials a lot, that the voices that are coming out are still rooted in inadequacy, in uncertainty, unassuredness, these low vibrancy frequencies that haven't matched the rest of their body that they're now starting to vibrate at, or stepping into.
Yeah.
So a very long-winded version of what this is, but essentially it's a new voice for the new era. Essentially, it is really releasing your holy raw, and it is getting out of the fucking way of what is your biggest and boldest expression.
It's interesting. Yeah. I love this, because so many of us have been conditioned to not actually be ourselves, right? So the whole entire matrix was set up this way to keep us not actually speaking through the truth, or not actually feeling through the truth of our heart, right? It's like all of this mechanism was literally like convinced into our orc fields, we'll say, into our cells, at DNA levels almost. They try to keep moving that through our bodies so that we
Mm.
don't actually step up into the space, that we don't actually
That's it.
make the illumination, that we're not actually potently aligning in our truth. Because if we do, then the mechanism of the matrix falls apart because we cannot be controlled, right?
That's it.
And it's not because we're rebellions or we're like the warriors up on the hill, although some of us are in those
It's
landscapes
an act
of
of.
certain
Yeah.
of certain movements of their advocacy, but it's more so like a reclaiming of who we actually really are, right?
Yeah. And that's the scariest thing, because
Mhm.
when we speak about the voice is really that it's been elevated into this status of, when I speak it, that's it. It's spoken.
Mhm.
I can't control it. I can't take it back. You can't. If you're maintaining that energy, you are holding it on. Therefore, you have control.
Mhm.
If you're speaking it out and releasing it out, you have no idea how that impact's going to occur. And that's fucking scary.
Yeah.
Like, that is still to this day very, very scary, which is something we all need to navigate. And by my God, I say this a lot. I am as deep into this work myself with my own medicine as
Wow.
anyone else is.
Yep.
Every day, literally.
Yep.
And I say this to everyone, the stuff that you're called to do is literally your medicine as much as everyone else's.
Mhm.
This is as much my medicine as everyone else's. And I know that for the last 20 plus years,
Yep.
I've been working on my medicine.
Yeah.
And that's a fucking long time.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
and before
16
that too.
years. Yeah, like 16 years
Yeah.
where I hired my first spiritual mentor. But I know I had
Mm.
multiple mentors before that. I just, yeah,
Didn't
I get it.
didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for 20 years, I have been working in the operatic space. I'm an opera singer by profession. I am built to resonate in spaces of 4,000 seater houses without microphones.
Right.
That's the potential of the voice.
Yeah.
And we are a 0.00000 whatever percentage of like the entire population of 8 billion people on this planet.
Yeah.
We are built this way from training, because we know that we have to get out of the fucking way in order to create that resonance.
Yeah.
And that's, when that voice first unlocks for the first time and it creates those resonances, it freaks the fuck out of you.
Mm.
It is the scariest feeling in the whole world, and yet the most liberating.
Mm.
And still to this day, and I get a bit emotional about it, because still to this, I remember that day like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Still to this day, in the lesson that I was in, I still remember that day. And it was like, fuck, I can take on the world. And holy shit, I can take on the world. Like, it was scary. So scary. But because once it's released, there is no bringing it back.
Right. Yeah.
Because you know that feeling.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, how do I get to that feeling again?
Yeah.
How do I, and it's slightly feeling chased, but it's okay, how do I keep that feeling?
Yeah.
Because that feels good. That feels
Yeah.
easy. That feels relaxed. That feels resonant. That feels powerful. That feels all encompassing.
Yeah.
Man, I can reach the back of the hall over a 60-piece orchestra.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot of frequency being played in one space. And we're built to do that.
Yeah.
We are created to do that. And every single voice on the planet has the ability to do that and more. Like, we're only just starting to know what the vocal potentials are. But I certainly know from being an opera singer that's part of it. That's a big part of it.
Right. Yeah.
When we look at children, when we look at babies, for example, and you see it there, and then we take on all the stuff, social conditioning, beliefs, told what to do, how to do, why to do, etc.
Yeah.
When you are a baby, none of that exists. So you can scream for days on end.
Yeah.
Cry for days on end.
Yeah.
And nothing changes. A baby does not lose its voice.
Yeah.
A baby does not have anything affected by it when it's doing this. If that is what we can keep through to adulthood and beyond, imagine what could happen.
Yeah. It's so just telling you this, one of my past lives, I was an opera singer in Italy. So I I don't use the skill obviously that way in this life now, but
Mm.
I have activated my light language, and that
Amazing.
comes in as a different type of level of frequency and potency. And
Yes.
someday my album will get into the world. There's a whole other thing around that too, but it's like, it's that self-expression through the voice and being able to unleash it and allow it to come through in all the things without the observations of like what humanity thinks we need to be, or without the like, you know, dynamics of like, well, should I actually say this, or should I sing this today, or what will the neighbors think if I actually belt it out to that tune, or whatever,
Huge.
right? And the small things in our life are the equalizers to the massive movements in our life too. So
Yes, they are.
yeah, what people I
I
don't
love
think
that.
understand is like the sound frequency. And I don't know if people really understand what can happen when a certain frequency enters into our energetic field, whether that's through singing, whether that's through light language, whether that's through a whisper, whether that's through opera, any type of noise or any type of instrument, any kind of instrument has a certain frequency to it. So I'd love for you to, I feel like you can chat into this, because I think that it's an important thing for people to recognize, because it plays right in to us owning this as well, because
Yes.
there's a reason why it's got to come through the way it's meant to come through, right?
Yeah. So there's a lot in this.
Yeah.
This is like
Start in the
even 4
middle.
hours.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about the voice as a biological instrument first, and then we can talk about the music, how frequency works and how balance as a frequency works to be able to create impact.
Okay.
That's a lot, I know.
No, that's cool. I'll drink some more water. I'll sit back.
Okay, so like I said, we are, aside from being 100% biology, we are 100% frequency and energy and so forth. At any one time, we are completely inconsistent. That's the best thing ever. So we are navigating biologically two little muscles that sit inside the vocal cords that vibrate and stretch and release vibrationally, kind of like an elastic band, essentially. They vibrate together like this. And that is all that frequency is. It is literally waves. But to create that frequency, it is one muscle against the other muscle, creating that wave effect. As instruments go, we are the first instrument, the human race, we are nature, outside of nature's trees, flowers, their own frequency, birds, etc. We are the first being, I guess, that can consciously control a lot of this. So instruments, like when we talk musically, instruments, for example, stringed instruments, are a direct reflection of that voice function. Where strings only have so many notes because they can only be so long on an instrument, right? Whereas the voice doesn't have that limitation.
Right.
So the ability to access partials, frequencies that are extensive past this realm is much more accessible. We're built for it, basically.
Yeah.
From a frequential point of view, we now understand it using the Western system of music. So a note, middle C, is 394 hertz, give or take. We've got concert A, which is what basically every orchestra tunes to, which is 440 hertz per second. That is 440 vibrations in the throat per second.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And people don't realize that. They go, yeah, it's 440 per second. I'm like, no, you don't understand. That is vibrating in your throat 440 times per second.
Yeah.
Multiply that over a lifetime.
Yeah.
That is a lot of vibration. So if you're not not conscious of what you're actually saying at this point and how you use your voice, and you should be.
Yeah.
That's a lot of vibration into the world at that level, 440 times per second.
Yeah.
When everything tunes to different frequencies, and they don't stay the same. This is the thing. Everyone assumes that frequency stays constant. It doesn't ever.
No.
It doesn't ever stay. So from any moment, you can attune to another's frequency purely by listening and feeling.
Right. Yeah.
It's a cyclic thing. It's not a creation and then that's it. It is a cyclic response.
Mm.
So when we're talking about accessing vibration through, and this gets extremely scientific. So I don't want to go too scientific, knowing that most people won't understand this.
Yeah.
In its base level, but the majority of people, if it's in the same ways that opera singers get asked whether we can shatter glass, right?
Yeah.
It's if you match the frequency of the object,
Yep.
whatever that vibrating frequency is, and every item has one, even that glass that's sitting in front of you.
All
if
of
you
it.
match
Yeah.
and there's scientific experiments all over the internet regarding this. If you match the frequency of the item that you are trying to affect, you will shatter it.
Yeah.
In a good, bad, indifferent, ugly way. Like it doesn't matter how it happens. It becomes affected.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about vibration and frequency and how that, using vibration and frequency, that's how conscious you need to be. If you are going to use your frequency in this way, if you're going to be potent about your frequency, you need to know that the person's frequency in front of you is at a certain level, and you know how to match that in order to affect it. Now, the difference between a frequency that is just a step, like a frequency is not just a frequency, it has partials.
Right.
And this is the part that becomes really impactful, and most people don't realize this. So there is upper partial and lower partial. And in the operatic world, we call that chiaroscuro, which means light and shade. Okay. So the light sounds are the cut sounds, the ones that if you target it, it will, it's like a laser.
Yeah.
They have pinpoint. It's why when someone like a high pitched laugh 4 tables over, or like down the street, or like your mate's like absolutely losing it. Yeah, totally. You can hear it.
Yeah.
4 streets away. Like that's the cut that pierces the ether. Right? However, and this is the key, is balancing that cut with shade, and shade fills. So you've got the cut partial, the shade partial, balance those, and your frequential align. So the balance of frequency, you've got upper and lower. It's kind of like, in the old stereos where they had like the lights that used to, but it's kind of like that. So you get your upper partial, your lower partial, and the line that goes through the middle. You do that, if you balance upper and lower, the greater the impact. Because there's more going through the ether.
Yeah.
So you've got not just the upper partial, which is like, yes, pinpoint. And people go, oh, that's that feeling of like, oh my God, that's really loud. Oh my God, that's like really attacking. And the bottom part just feels like, I just want to sleep. Like it's, if you balance that in its maximum output, in any state, doesn't have to be loud, doesn't have to be soft. You can literally split that so that it embraces all of that what we call formant. If you balance that, the impact on the world is triple, quadruple more. It is far more. So when for example, there's a lot of people speaking now. There's a lot of people doing, live seminars, live healings now. If you can balance that, the impact on your audience, on your people will be far greater.
Right.
That's the impact. That's what you want. So at any vibrational frequency, it has the ability to do that.
Yeah.
So you may just be hitting the frequency. You could be hitting it at concerts, what we call a concert C, which is, as I said, about 394, 374 hertz. So if you're hitting da and you get that, but you balance that like this, the likelihood of that impacting more of the frequential space around you becomes far greater.
Yeah.
And that's what you want. More for less.
So how do we take this into everyday life? Like, what does this transpire into? I'm here with you right now. And how do we bring conscious awareness to this as normal humans walking through everyday world? Because obviously, I'm going to say that 99.5% of the people listening to this are probably not trained in opera. You know?
No, God, no.
Yeah.
And I would never expect them to be.
Of course.
No,
yeah.
hell no.
I know
That
that,
was my
but I'm
choice,
just like,
not yours.
yeah, I'm joking around a little bit, but I'm like, how do we
Yeah.
now take what you just said to us and implement this in our life? What does that actually mean? You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
So there we can feel that pure, like within ourselves. So when we create sound, we can actually intentionally feel that. There are a few things that you need to know. If the voice feels like you're pushing, if the voice feels like it's hard work, if the voice feels like it is creating that you're having to really work hard to create sound, you're not doing it. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Resonance comes from creating space. Resonance comes from, it's like a cathedral. If you're in a cathedral, you clap your hands and it just goes like that.
Yeah.
Because of space.
Yeah.
It's the way that the space is, but the caverns have been created. Now, our body works the same way, but there are a few things. Most people don't use their entire biological anatomy to create the function. It tends to get stuck behind our back teeth.
Okay.
Now, having worked with a lot of our Northern American Canadian friends.
Yeah. Well, I'm Canadian, but I live in Costa Rica. You know?
Yeah, and it's so many people who and every dialect has its issues. They all get stuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
In some way or another. Ours, again, certain parts of Australia have more cut than others. I'm originally from Queensland. We are the cut queens and kings. We can cut through everything
A lot of
for days.
Yeah.
That is our gift and our curse.
Yeah.
But singing opera helps a great deal to get that cut because everyone else is doing the opposite. They're trying to get everything forward, whereas we're like, we're forward. We need to go back.
Yeah.
So from a basic start, firstly, if your breath is not low enough, if your voice feels like it's being pushed and it's hard work to create, if you feel tired at the end of your speaking for 1 hour, because we aren't trained to actually do this. Yes, you talk every day. Congratulations. However, we're not taught to use it. We are expecting that we know how, purely because we have a voice. It's like, and I'm going to be really crass here, but it's like a guy who thinks they know how to have sex just because they have a penis.
Yeah. Oh, so true. I know.
That's it. That's exactly right. Congratulations, you have one. Do you know how to use it?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You're figuring that out. Like, we're all figuring that out.
Yeah.
Like, it's that. Our voice is very much, we need to figure out how this thing functions. Yeah. For us. If you can align all of that, if you can go, okay, none of that's working. I feel like I'm pushing shit uphill. It feels so hard to create sound. I get tired at the end of, an hour's talking. And that's the first key. Is if you are getting tired after speaking for an hour nonstop, alarm bells.
Yeah.
There's frequential alarm bells.
Yeah.
It shouldn't feel hard.
Right.
If you are chewing, if these muscles feel like they are like, and your teeth, and I can guarantee you that all this is just not. To be able to create that space, you have to release. And the muscles are so used to being tense that they don't necessarily know how. And the biggest thing, so from a biological point of view, the strongest muscle in your body is your tongue. And that is way all up on here, throat. There's way too close for comfort. And all the muscles that are connected from the tongue into that throat, pharyngeal, laryngeal area are so interconnected that all it takes is a bad day at work and this won't work. Every single moment of every single day, your voice will be in a different state.
Right.
Because we're always changing. Everything's always changing.
Yeah.
Now, the other clincher is that if your breath is stuck up, and most people don't know how to breathe, can I just say?
Of course.
Watch it again. Go watch a baby. Go and watch a baby breathe. The most beautiful thing ever. It is the most freeing, wonderful. Like, it's just, oh my God, it's just bliss to watch. And we go, why can't I do that? You can. it's again, all that stored shit that has been layered into the system from conditioning.
Yeah.
As women, and there is and I say this because I am a big advocate of ignoring this completely, but the diaphragmatic muscle, people talk about diaphragmatic breathing and they don't actually understand its concept. The diaphragm is a muscle we actually can't control.
Right.
But it has the biggest impact on the throat.
Right. Like
and the voice and releasing that sound.
Yeah.
Don't ignore it because you can't control it.
Yeah.
It's a muscle that sits underneath your lungs. It drops down to allow air to be coming into the system. It releases to allow the air going up. It is gravitationally influenced.
Mm-hmm.
So gravity pulls air into the system. Your control is not in your breath in, it's in your breath out.
Right.
So we end up storing air because you're so hyper-focused on the diaphragm that you end up locking the muscles surrounding the diaphragm because they're the ones you can control.
Right.
So all these intrinsic muscles that sit around the diaphragm are designed to get out of the way so the diaphragm can actually drop. It's like a trampoline. It just drops as far as it needs. Now, the expansion in someone's breath capacity doesn't happen up or out. It happens down. And if the diaphragm's locked, the breath can't go any further than the diaphragm's allowing it to. So that's the muscle you need to create as much flexibility and release in so that the breath can actually drop down and get away from the throat.
Right. Yeah.
Because if you lock that, the only place it can go is out and up. So you end up getting in the shoulders. And that is, again, way too close.
Well, yeah, and it really does reflect into, especially what we're coming into in these next few years. It's like we've been doing a lot of releasing energetically and letting go and actually letting go of things and people in our life and all the things. So you can watch as this conversation is literally running tandem with what's happening in the collective energies of us releasing the stuff. So the more we release, the more we drop into the body, the more space we actually have in the body, the more we're actually able to move through and then hold that truth coming through our vocal cords.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. But it's also, so again, it comes down, there's a lot of connections in this.
Of course.
When we start breathing into that low space, when we start breathing and releasing all of that stagnant energy, that unuseful energy, that toxic energy, all that is removed from your system. You then start activating the breath in a way that then starts connecting to your womb space. Right. So your vocal cords, your voice and your, so if we talk energetically, the sacral and the throat chakra is directly connected.
Yep.
And we talk, so creative energy is expressed through your throat.
Right.
When babies are born, that's exactly, it all happens there and you scream like that is, it's directly connected.
Yeah.
And this is what people don't necessarily realize is that your cervix, your cervix space, that entire mechanism functions at the same time as your throat. They look exactly the same, they act the same, they react the same. So when something happens, for example, if you breathe in, your vocal cords separate into what is like this. It's like a little triangle. It's exactly the same. I remember when I found this out, I was like, oh my God, this is really cool.
Yeah.
So when it separates and you breathe in, your cervix also does the same thing. When you orgasm, the cervix opens, the throat also opens. They are directly responsive to each other.
Yeah.
The same, and this is the other thing, when you're when you go into like pre-bleed, for example, and into your first few days of your cycle, the inflammation, the blood storage that happens within your cervix and that cervical region happens here too.
Yeah.
So if that's not functioning properly around those days leading up, if you're not as clear vocally, if you're not like the words don't come out, that's why. Is because it actually stiffens the whole thing in preparation for your cervix and your womb space to create a baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once it releases, these also release.
Interesting. Yeah.
But the access to that energy can get stifled if the breath is not dropping down low enough.
Right.
So that response can actually be affected.
Well, and I
And
think
they should be acting in tandem.
yeah, well, I think this has happened with so many women. You know, I was just on a coach, like one of my coaching client calls today, and she was telling me that she's been on birth control since she was 14 because of da 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 da. And I just went, if we look at the system and we look at women and these like painful bleeds and these things and this dynamic, I guarantee you, like there's going to be correlation in the energy being blocked and potentially past life energy stuck through throats that they haven't cleared that now is blocking the body system from fully functioning, and like just so much depth there. So much
Yeah,
depth.
that's it. Oh my God. I can speak about this for hours, for days, for years, because there is so much that we now are seeing and understanding about these connections in a way that we never have before. And that for me is really exciting.
Yeah.
But like it's down the rabbit hole. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, this is days, weeks, years of just like finally, like
Yeah.
finally we get it. Okay. There is so much that affects it, and so much that people need to realize that goes into the creation of sound, because we are sound irresponsible. We are frequently irresponsible as a collective.
Yeah. Yeah.
When they talk about don't put stuff out into the worlds that you know don't want to come back to you, that you don't want to, it's more than that. It's far more than that.
Oh yeah.
That's the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to just kind of move us into this, like how this all kind of connects together in what we're seeing with self-expression and reclaiming of who we are, because we're finding out this information. We're knee deep in this discovery. It's like all the veils have been lifted while they are lifting in all different avenues of the world, and we're starting to remember the truth, like, and actually remember the truth of this. And like you said at the beginning, it's like we haven't seen this yet. And I'm like, I'm sure it's been here before, thousands of years ago, when there wasn't anything else. Like there was no duality. Everyone just was and telepathically communicated and did life like that, you know? And it was like they didn't even speak using the vocals. And then all of a sudden that came into play. And then we started getting this taintedness around this energy, because we can't have all these people, and women especially, speaking this into the world and telling people what is true. So what do we, like this self-expression is coming up really, we're seeing it, people owning their power. And part of my brand is also in that avenue of like owning who you really are from a soul level and getting into that energy. What are you seeing right now with that self-expression and what's coming through inside of that space? I'd just love to find out.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned earlier, there's a bit of a disconnect that's happening at the moment, and that completely understandable, Sure. Because as you navigate the fullest of self-expression, to then speak that into the world, is the layer that needs to be stripped.
Right. Yeah.
That's the part that needs, it's like the you know, the dam needs to be released kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because you can be being in this, you can be absolutely, you know, walk through the world in your fullest expression and be but if the voices are matching the expression output, that's the limitation.
Right. Yeah.
So you're still, and I hate this word, I really hate it, but authentically driving it's the worst word ever.
Yeah.
Or, you know, being authentic, you must be your authentic self. What does that even mean? What does that even mean?
People doesn't have a clue about what that is, like at all. Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's it. So, but it's being that aligned. So I talk about alignment.
Yeah.
When the voice is aligned with the rest of that energy, the floodgates feel like they open.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if your self-expression is, and I know the people that I'm speaking to are really working hard to go, no, fuck this. This is the person that I am underneath this, and I need to get that out into the world. But then this doesn't match. And when it does, the color changes. It almost becomes a completely different voice.
Right.
Because we are hypercolor.
Yeah.
We aren't just black and white, which is what and I talk about this in creative metaphors because I'm a creative well and truly, but we We are not black and white. We are not black, white, and red. But this is not 1950s TV. Like
Yeah.
we've gone to Technicolor, people, and we are Technicolor beings.
Yeah.
We are Technicolor of shades that people don't even know exist.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And that is part of the expressional power that we have. And if you're expressing that already as part of your beingness,
Yeah.
but the voice isn't matching the colors that you are holding within you, that you are now releasing from you,
Yeah.
then the disconnect is still going to be there. And we hear that there's a few different things you can hear it vocally. So from a really tangible point of view, you will hear it as vocal fry. You will hear it as, I hear it all over podcasts everywhere.
Yeah.
where people are stepping, like, yep, doing the thing, stepping into their power, but the voice is still matching the old energies. And vocal fry is I need to ground into my power. I am struggling to feel safe. I am not trusting myself. So these bottom three chakras, these bottom three centers are so directly linked. And if it's not anchoring, if the voice isn't anchoring down, and again, it comes back down to that release, you need to physically release and energetically release the stuff that's underneath there so that they then connect. Because everyone goes, yes, feed it into the heart space, feed it in the heart space, feed it in the heart space. Yes. And this sits above the heart space.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't forget, this sits above the heart space. You can feed it into the heart space all you want, but if this is not connected in, you're bypassing the whole thing. So, it goes into that vocal fry, and again, you hear it everywhere. It's been around in men since the 1950s. Good old Sean Connery and James Bond. If you want to hear it it's that every single girl go like all this, like I just want it, and it's the breath stopping completely. So the breath, when it stops, if it's not still flowing out, vocal fry occurs.
Interesting.
And when people are trying to push the voice down into this, okay, I feel like my voice needs to be sitting down lower. Yes, it does. It should be.
Yeah.
Because it's naturally wanting to do that, but you haven't released it into that. So this needs to be connected through the heart as well.
Yeah.
And vice versa. So it's a response thing. It's a cyclic. It's not a it's not a one thing. The other thing is when you hear it is there's always upward inflection and everything's a question and you don't want to get the answer wrong because I need to know that I'm actually right. And that's all solar plexus energy.
Interesting. Yeah.
And they're the two big ones. And I hear it all the time. It drives me nuts. I turn podcasts off all the time for that very reason. I can't do it. I'm like, oh.
My ego's like, we got this handled, and then I'm like, do we? You know, I don't even know.
I'm surrounded by particularly teenagers at the moment in my day job.
Yeah.
As a teacher, I teach kids, and I'm like, oh my god, like shut up, just shut up.
Yeah.
Because it's all
oh yeah, they're trying to figure out life, right? So they're questioning. You know where I like, and I am always super transparent in all of this, like on my podcast. Like it's like my thought process, journal, diary of random thoughts. Like when I do solo episodes, it's like come and have a good time. But I'm like, where do I really do this? And I do this when I'm interested in a guy.
Yes.
So this is where it happens for me for sure. And I'm going to take ownership of that because I'm like, fuck yeah, it totally happens there. And I'm like, why? And there's something about this. And my girlfriend once called me out on it. And she was like, why are you settling in relationships and you would never settle in any other aspect of your life? And I was like, fuck, there's something here, you know? And now because you just connected that, I went, oh God, it's so true. So I literally have to ground in and breathe into my body to remind myself that that's a thing before I even approach something like this. It's like, I'm just like, consciously, I'm in awareness now. I'm like, well, I was in awareness before because that's the activity I do that you just gave. I have to drive the energy into my body to remember to like bring this into play. But I'm like, wow.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And once the energetic, once you ground and once the energy is released vocally, once that energy is not just biological, but frequential and energetic energy. So we're talking all the components. Once that is allowed to feel safe and relaxed, that scares the shit out of men.
Oh, I scare
And
the
like
shit out of men all the time. Like, I'm just gonna put that out there.
Amen.
Yeah, my guy is like, I don't know where he is yet. I'm actually calling him in actively right now, but I'm like, he's gonna be really strong and confident in who he is, because hanging
Yeah.
out with me, I don't,
It's all or nothing, babe.
yeah, like I don't know what to tell you, you know? Like, I'm just like,
Yeah.
and I'm not even doing anything. And that's the thing, right? I'm not even doing anything, but I have learned to remember. And I say that on purpose because I had to learn at to remember this. And now it just is who I am.
Yeah.
But I definitely still, especially if I really like a guy and I'm attracted to him, I'm like, I could feel it. So now
Yeah,
like,
that's it.
stop it. You know, like I'm like, who the fuck is talking through me right now? You
And
know,
then he
like,
just goes,
yeah. And it just, yeah.
away. And you're like, what has happened? Where? Come back. Like,
Damn it. You know, like,
yeah,
I did
that's
it again.
it.
Shit. Okay. We gotta work on this one. But it's showing up in all avenues. Like a lot of people are struggling this way in business. Like they are.
Absolutely.
They're not
And this is
speaking
where
their
my specialty is.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're not speaking their
It's
full truth. They're not saying it like they really need to hit in there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And this is where the disconnect comes, you know, when we're talking about personal the peeps are talking about personal branding is dead. And the community brand is now the new thing. And I would suggest it's both.
Yeah.
Both and. It's all. It's not either or, it's both.
Yeah.
People need to be able to trust that brand, and that is vocal. That is vocal.
Yeah.
A big part of your brand, if you are on social media and you are opening your mouth, it's vocal.
Yeah.
And if you're not training your voice as a business asset, because it is,
Yep.
not just a personal asset, but a business asset.
Yeah.
Your business is a direct reflection of your energy. If anyone in business will tell you this, is like, if your business is shit, there's something going on with you. It's not that your business is a separate entity. You are one and the same thing, particularly as a solopreneur, particularly as someone who you are your business.
Right.
And as an opera singer, we are our business.
Yeah.
And that is something that I've had to navigate for years. And I'm, you know, this particular brand, this new brand for me, you know, I'm known under under my full name, which is Deborah Rogers, within not just Australia, New Zealand, some parts overseas. That's my singing brand. Yeah. So to pull that back, most people call me Deb or D. Yeah. D has become my name seems to be getting shorter over the years. So I'm like, okay, let's just shorten it up then.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I know stepping into D feels fucking scary for me because it's something without limitation,
right?
In a way that has been limited before. And I'm like, oh, you know, that comes with its own stuff. Like, oh my God, I feel so exposed. And I've had people go, Miss D Rogers, that seems really like intimidating. And I'm like, fucking good. Have you met me? Like, I am intimidating. Yeah. To anyone who makes, she's intimidating. I'm like, but I'm not. I'm just me.
Yeah. That's it.
That's your shit. You take it on. Like, you know, that for me, but it intimidates me a bit too. Yeah. Like, whew, without boundaries and parameters, man, that's okay. Working through that. So my evolution of my brand, me as my brand will change. Simply little things like this.
All the time. It's like shifting.
And vocal, it will change. Yeah. And that's it. Yeah. So to assume that your brand and your business is not aligned, you're kidding us. You're so kidding yourself. So kidding.
Yeah. I agree.
And that voice has to match.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like when I first got into business, so I've been an entrepreneur for 16 years. And people ask me the first few years, like, what are you really scared of? You know, what's your biggest fear? You know, and it was like, you know, public speaking and all these things. And I was like, that's not my biggest fear. My biggest fear is actually that it's going to work. You know,
that's mine. Yeah, absolutely. That's going to work.
That I'm like, like, you know, and even now speaking out loud, I'm like, I know it's working and I'm watching it. And I'm like, I'm holding on really tightly to my inner child who self-sabotages the fuck out of shit and going, yes, we're safe, baby. It's okay. Like, we're safe. We're safe. We can ride this wave. It's okay. And it's interesting when we think about that, because it's like, it is scary as fuck to own who you really are and to step into that and to remove all of these shit things that we've been told our whole entire life about, you know, we need to worry about what the neighbors think, or we need to da da da, or
Yes.
and we're moving through all of these limitations, or what we call conditions that have been placed upon us and purposefully placed upon us, because when women energies especially are in their full potency of power, they ignite the strong men. And when you have both playing the field, it's like game over. Like in my body, goosebumps, and I know that.
Literally, I smiled too.
Yeah,
Oh,
and I know that, right? So like, this is the imprint. So this is the call out almost to all of you guys listening. It's like, guys, I know you're under your shit. I know you've been dealing with your stuff, but like, we're being called out, like, and we're doing the work. It's not easy. It fucks us up some days. We're human too, but like, it's like the call is coming, like the holy roar, like you said, is here, and it needs to be unleashed. Yeah,
it is, and it is passionate, and it is unforgiving and unrelenting, and you know, like a bushfire with kindling. Like if you're passionate about anything, that's your cue.
Yeah.
That's literally, if there is something that you're like, I am so fired up about this, and it makes you angry and seek change, bingo.
Yeah.
Align that. Align that. If that is where your passion is driving, that's going to fuel it like nothing on earth. Steady passion, not, and there'll be moments where you're like, I'm just fucking all in on this. Like I'm screaming for the rooftops. Absolutely. And now channel it. Like, you know, that's the power. That's the power. And where either you step in or get the fuck out the way.
Yeah. That's what I always say. Step in or step out, you know, like that's step in or step out. Absolutely. Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So it's so true. It's so true. Oh, I love this.
Me too. This is, yeah. It is, and I call it the holy rule because it's holy. This is the bit, hi.
She was creeping, and now she's like, wait a second, we're talking about me roaring. I would like to be a part of this conversation.
Sure.
Yeah, I know.
And it's part of, I've been surrounded by the lion my entire life. Like I'm a Leo.
Yeah.
Cusp Leo, but Leo. And you know, when my first house when it grew up was in a block that was MGM. We were on Mayor Street, MGM, which is also the signal of a lion.
Yeah.
And like I was just lions everywhere. And I was, there's something here. It's like really, and one of the scariest things, like I don't know whether anyone has heard a lion roar live.
Yeah.
But that is guttural. It is.
Oh yeah.
It's like you're like.
There's the vibration we talk about. Yeah.
And that's the power. That's what we have. That's that power.
Yeah.
It's completely primal. It's completely primal, and we channel it. It is. It's potent. It's groundbreaking.
Yeah. It's really
and
fun.
that for me is cool.
Yeah. Well, a couple episodes before this one, I was talking about feline energy with a woman who channels feline energy and helps people channel feline energy. So like this is coming up everywhere for me. And it's actually so funny. And I'm like, okay, I'm listening. Because I had a past life as a tiger. And that was the first time I ever did a past life regression. And that was the first life I dropped into. So imagine waking up in that life as a tiger and you've never done any of this work before. And she's like, look down at your feet. What do you see? I'm like, I see paws. And she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm running in the jungle. And she's like, what are you? I'm like, I'm a tiger. And it was like the coolest thing, like the feeling of that. Like I can see when I talk about it, I see the imprint of the paws. I can feel the heartbeat of the tiger in my body. And so I'm like, this is okay. I need to this is showing up again. And I'm like, okay, what is coming in right now? Like, what do you, and they're like, and I was told to relaunch a program I taught this year and teach another live session in February of my Fierce program. And it's just about owning your fierce power and really stepping into that. So there's another layer, of course, coming in. I'm like, okay, I'll send out another post about Fierce today. All right, I got you. You know, like I'm like, I'm listening.
That's it.
Yeah, it's cool, right?
It is fierce. It's so big, and you know, even the smallest mouse can be fierce to someone. You know, there's a reason why they talk about elephants and mice, and why elephants, the biggest animal can be impacted by such a small animal.
Right.
And it's that whole, the biggest person can be impacted by the smallest voice. It is,
Yeah.
it's that powerful. Like
It is.
people, I wish everyone, and I scream for the rooftops, I wish everyone would understand, because it doesn't, we all think it needs to be celebrity big.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's manufactured.
Of course it is. Yeah.
It's not. It's about every moment of every day speaking into this resonant truth that will then have the ripple effect.
Yeah. Yeah.
The smallest things have the biggest impact, and that goes for training, that goes for voices, that goes for everything. Like everything in life, the smallest things have the biggest impact.
Yeah.
You know, life lesson there.
Well, it's like everybody matters. And that's the thing I really want people to understand, is that each of our souls picked a pathway when we all have our puzzle piece. So the puzzle will not be complete without your piece. And
that's exactly
it doesn't matter what the piece is. It matters that you have one, and that is the objective. And if you're feeling called to get up on a stage and speak, or go to the grocery store today, and all of a sudden the connection happens because of, like, it all works together, right? And that's the cool part about this whole thing. For sure.
And stop thinking that you're a different piece, because
Yeah.
we've all been there. We all think we're another piece. Like that other piece is not. Yeah. No, you're not quite that piece.
Yeah.
You know?
Own your triangle, okay? That's it. You're not a square, or you're not a round one this lifetime. You are the triangle this time. Like,
with a wonky out. Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. Oh my God. This has been awesome. And I love this. I'll give you some space to kind of close it out, what you think will really complete the conversation we've been having. But where can people find you? What do you have going on? I want to kind of know, because there's going to be some people that are like, who the hell is this woman? And
this chick from Australia.
Yeah. And I want to find out what she's pushing out into the world, because I want to feel in that alignment, in that energy of it. So yeah, just do your shameless plug of like beautiful, expanded fierceness.
Amen. Roaring at you all.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit of socials. I am on Instagram at I am Ms. D Rogers. I am on TikTok with the same handle. I've just started my YouTube channel because I find long form content good.
Yes.
I like just riffing, and I do have an email list. My offers are actually about to change in the new year. At the end of January, all things going well, I will actually launch my signature program.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited about that.
Yes.
Called Release Your Raw.
Nice.
And I'm very excited by that. If you get onto my website, msdrogers.com, or go onto socials, click on Linktree and sign up for my mailing list, you'll get to hear about that first. At the moment, I do a monthly newsletter, which is completely free and full of really tangible, workable vocal tips.
Yeah.
There are no tricks really, other than, to find out your archetype. There is the opportunity to be able to find out, because every voice has one.
Cool.
It's an independent archetype which functions with other archetypes along your life journey, in whatever phase stage you're in.
Yeah.
Your vocal archetype doesn't tend to change though. Once you have a vocal archetype, other than some women with kids, some of theirs will change, but other than that, most will have the same archetype for life. So if you want to get your vocal archetype analysis done, I have a full analysis that I do in a session, and it reveals pretty much everything. I go deep dive into your voice. I'm offering those at the moment, that you can go and book those through the Linktree as well, if you want to be somewhat exposed, because it is very revealing.
I'm sure it is.
They're good fun. I absolutely adore them. They're so much fun. Yeah. And you get a full report with that as well. So that's probably the best places. And please shout out, say hi. I do love talking to everyone. So yeah.
I always encourage everyone to send messages to be like, hey, I listened to the episode. This is what I grabbed from it. Or if you have questions, like, we're all here to serve each other too, right? So it's speak into it, my friend, step up and use your voice. Yeah, use your voice. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, so we'll have all the links in the show notes. People can grab them and dive into all that in the space of everything. But I want to know, like, what would you feel really called to closing out this episode with? Like, what's on your heart? What do you feel called to share? The mic's yours.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah.
All the things. No. What do I feel called to share? Just speak. Just speak. It's time's up. Time's up.
Yeah.
No more procrastinating. No more pushing down. No more squishing. No more hiding. We're done.
Yeah.
And if you're feeling called, if you're feeling called to speak, to release, to step up, then you have all the support in the world to be able to do that.
Yeah.
There are incredible people all over this planet. You, Colleen, one of a collection of people who are here to help. You navigate the scaredy cat syndrome, as I call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just takes one voice, and it doesn't have to be big. It just needs to be aligned.
Yeah, it's true.
And one voice multiplied by a lot more
Yeah.
is a lot of voices. That's a lot of noise.
It takes
So,
one
yeah,
light to light
that's
other
it.
lights, and then those lights
That's
are
it.
lighting others. It's just the ripple effect is real. Apparently,
it.
there's something in my throat about that one. The ripple
Oh,
effect is real.
it's real.
I know.
Very
Yeah,
real.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Dee,
I
this
adore
has
that.
been explosive like I anticipated, and I knew you'd bring some fire into play today. So I thoroughly appreciate your light and the impact you're making in the world and the expression you bring into our fields today. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, and just grateful. Like I'm always grateful of the people I get to meet. And literally the last 5 guests I've interviewed, it went Germany, India, Ireland, and now we're in Australia. I'm like, I can't remember what one of the other countries that was in there, but I'm like, wow, like I'm not even hitting any Americans. And I'm like, I wonder if any Americans are gonna drop in over the next little bit with it's like it's opening up this beautiful availability for us to feel the energy that's collectively moving through. So whether you're in Costa Rica or you're in Australia right now or wherever the movement is moving in, it's a powerful.
It is global. It really is global. And it's we tend to, being the bottom of the world, you know, we tend to see what the impact of the world, what's happening in the world, from quite an interesting viewpoint. And the collective is just, it's really positive and it's really promising and it's upsetting so many systems. And we're just sitting back like, yes, come on.
Yeah.
And we're like, Australia's got to be next. Come on.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's so true. Yeah. So just, I want to thank all of you guys that are here listening as well and tuned in to the energy of this podcast, of this episode, of the vibrational alignment that we're moving through. And just like I always do, I encourage everyone to share it, send it to a friend, help tag us on social media, let us know you're listening to this, because the one, like we just said, if this feels aligned for you to speak into the world, then someone else is calling it forward from you. And that's our job, is to just keep sharing and keep stepping in and keep being really in the world. So
that's it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Amen.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much again, Dee, and for all of you guys listening. And we'll see you all, in the next episode.